If you've ever done mechanical drawings, you know that line weight standards are pretty simple over there in the mechanical world, where we have two line weights, thin and thick. That's it. Yay. In the architectural world, we have a lot more gradations of line weights, and here you can see the list of weights from the National CAD standard. Oh, sorry. Let's go through what they are. The fine lines, where you will encounter these is primarily in hatching. We'll use that 0.18 line weight for hatching in our drawings. The most common line weights are these. If you are thinking thin, you are probably thinking 0.25 of a millimeter. If you are thinking thick, you are probably thinking 0.5 of a millimeter, and then in between is the medium, 0.35. We use all three of these in our CAD drawing for this class. Thin lines you'll find in dimension lines and hidden lines and leaders, that sort of thing. Object lines are what we think of as medium, and this would be something like a wall in a floor plan or the side of a stem wall in a foundation, that sort of thing. Then the wide lines you'll find, or you can call them thick, you'll find if you're showing a section or an elevation and you want to show the grade, the slope of the soil around the building, you'll use one of these thick lines. Or if you're making a cutting plane line, you'll use one of these thick lines. Hatching, as we mentioned, will be thin or fine, 0.18. And here are some of the standard hatch patterns which you may have seen in your AutoCAD drawing. We'll run into some of these this term, I think. The next few slides are from our textbook for this class, and so I'm going to go through them kind of fast because there's just a lot of detail here. Starting with the thin lines, which I've highlighted here, break lines, dimensions, and so forth, hidden lines, center lines, phantom lines if you're showing, representing a ghost of something that's not there. And break lines, these squiggly things. Usually we see the sharp cornered zigzag, not that stupid squiggly thing down there. Usually we do a sharp up and down for a break line. Then, as we mentioned, medium line weights will be for our walls and our concrete and so forth. And thick lines to show the grade line of the soil, or for a cutting plane line. Extra wide lines, you probably won't run into these too often. If you work on a big project with gigantic sheets, you might be using these. For example, a match line, this extra wide line. A match line is where your site plan is so big that it can't fit on one sheet, and so you draw one line on one end of the plan to say match this up with the continuation of the plan on another sheet. We're not going to be running into these in this class, so I just throw them in here for interest. Finally, to be thorough, I will tell you about this color plotting standard from the National CAD standard, and then I will tell you that this is one of those things that probably nobody around here follows. The reason for having this color standard is that, as this bullet point says, some offices use AutoCAD, some offices use MicroStation software. You'll find MicroStation in some civil engineering firms. OBEC, the bridge engineers, use MicroStation. Other civil engineering firms use AutoCAD or CB03a. So anyway, if you're trying to get the same line weight and you're using color mapping to get the right line weight, then you need these colors, but just let that run off your back because you probably won't have to worry about it. According to the National CAD standard, if you have, let's say, a 0.25 millimeter line, you could make it yellow, but you couldn't make it these other colors. Or you could make it this kind of salmon-y tone, or this other salmon-y tone. And then here are some other tones for other line weights. Well, I don't know about you, but if I try to use these particular colors on a CAD drawing and the model space has a black background, these are not easy to see. And so many of them look so similar. I predict that you will not find any local offices using these colors. I'm just telling you, here they are. And what our employers tell us is that they want you to be able to adapt to whatever their office standard is. I meet with our local employers at least once a year and ask them, what would you like us to know, and what would make a good drafter? What skills do you want in a good drafter that you hire? And one of the things they say is be flexible and adaptable, so when you come into our office, for example, you're not stuck on a thick line being blue. If our office standard says a thick line is red, be able to adapt and switch over. Now, I don't have any advice for you on how to develop that adaptability. Just have it in the back of your mind that every office uses a slightly different standard, and you'll probably need to adapt and take on whatever standard your new employer has. All right, so there are line weights and a little bit about